Former Sudbury Mayor Marianne Matichuk expressed interest in running for the Liberals during the 2015 by-election. But after the Liberals lost the seat in 2014, Matichuk felt there was a lot of dysfunction in the riding association and she didn't like the disrespectful tactics going on. Matichuk told the court she even filled out nomination paperwork to become a candidate in the by-election, but ultimately never went public with it and decided on her own to step aside. She said she did so once she found out from Jerry Lougheed on December the 11th, 2014, that Glenn Thibeault was basically the chosen Liberal candidate. She said she has a lot of respect for Thibeault and thought it was a good choice. Now, earlier today, we spoke with CTV's legal analyst, Ari Goldkind, to get his perspective on this trial.
This is a prosecution that is looking more and more with each day that it A, has no merit, B, is not politics as usual, and C, is using the court system for matters that should be left in the political arena.
Sudbury MPP and Energy Minister Glenn Thibeault is the next big-ticket name on the witness stand. 2 days have been set aside for his testimony, and it's expected to take place next Tuesday and Wednesday. Isaac Cohen, CTV News, Sudbury. Glenn Thibeault told the court about a meeting he had with Liberal organizer Jerry Lougheed in late 2014 where the vacant provincial seat was discussed. Thibeault says that Lougheed had urged him to switch teams for a very long time. The Premier's Deputy Chief of Staff, Pat Sorbera, would later set up a phone call between Thibeault and Premier Kathleen Wynne, and eventually Thibeault met the Premier at her home. Thibeault said he felt that an uncontested nomination would be the best way to proceed, and he said he didn't have a sense but was hopeful Andrew Olivier would move aside. Thibeault was asked whether he demanded jobs for two of his staffers. He said no conditions were discussed with the Premier, but it was discussed with Sorbera and Lougheed. He also expressed interest in an eventual cabinet post, but says he found it awkward to discuss that. So after deciding on December the 11th, 2014 to run for the Liberals, Thibeault said he wanted to speak with Andrew Olivier face-to-face. But he says Pat Sorbera from the Premier's office told him it was her job to talk to Olivier. Thibeault said he was looking to bring a united front to the Liberal camp for the Sudbury by-election and was hoping to have Olivier part of that team. Thibeault said he asked Olivier if he would be interested in a constituency assistant role if the Liberals won the by-election. Olivier said he wasn't interested. Thibeault said no when asked by the defense if anyone had spoken to him about bribing or getting Andrew Olivier out of the picture. After being cross-examined, Thibeault was then re-examined by the prosecution. Thibeault reiterated that Pat Sorbera had indicated that income replacement, a paid campaign staff, and full party resources was doable based on previous experiences. Thibeault's testimony lasted nearly 8 hours, and he'll be back on the witness stand Wednesday at 9 a.m. Isaac Cohen, CTV News, Sudbury. Tony, we're adjourned until October the 10th, so what remains the big issue here is what was committed to Glenn Thibeault from Pat Sorbera, who at the time was the Liberal Party CEO and the Premier's Deputy Chief of Staff. Thibeault said the only commitment that was made to him was that he would have a professionally run and fully resourced campaign. On the issue of paid jobs for two of his staffers and income replacement, Thibeault testified that Sorbera only said these things could be doable based on past experiences. Now here's what Glenn Thibeault said this morning about his testimony as court wrapped up.
Again, I think like the Premier, I was happy to be transparent and come here and tell my side of the story, and I was able to do that. But this case is still ongoing, and I've been advised by my lawyers until this is complete that I really can't answer any questions. We need to let this whole process go through. But again, I was just happy to be able to tell my side of the story and be as truthful and transparent as possible.
When we resume on October the 10th, the defense plans to ask that the charges against Sorbera and Jerry Lougheed be dismissed.
Thanks for this, Isaac. CTV's Isaac Cohen reporting live from our Sudbury studio.
The judge disagreed with the Crown's argument that Andrew Olivier was actually a candidate. He said somebody just simply seeking nomination does not constitute a candidate under the Election Act. As a result, the judge says Jerry Lougheed and Pat Sorbera could never be found guilty of bribing Andrew Olivier or Glenn Thibeault, as they weren't candidates at the time. Here's some reaction from right after the ruling.
Today has been a great relief. When we talk about these last number of days, I can actually translate to the last 3 years. And it has been very worrisome, very tiresome, very stressful. So today, this relief to my family, my friends, and my community.
The court it spoke clearly and unequivocally, so there should be no backlash whatsoever. The allegations have been disproven. This is as close in law as you can have to saying she's innocent.
There were hugs and elation, and Sorbera was even seen wiping away tears after this very favorable outcome for the Liberals. Isaac Cohen, CTV News, Sudbury. Well, defense lawyers got their wish as Judge Howard Bornstein acquitted Jerry Lougheed and Pat Sorbera of all 3 bribery charges. Now, the judge called the Crown's definition of a candidate absurd, saying that just because Andrew Olivier was seeking a nomination, that didn't constitute being a candidate under the Election Act. Now, also, the judge didn't believe Sorbera was inducing Glenn Thibeault to run by allowing pay jobs to 2 of his staffers. So with that came the non-guilty verdict on all 3 counts. Here's reaction now, right after the ruling.
Today has been a great relief. When we talk about these last number of days, I can actually translate to the last 3 years. And it has been very worrisome, very tiresome, very stressful. So today, this relief to my family, my friends, and my community.
I'd be wondering why this case, the money went into this case, why it was wasted on the investigation and wasted on this prosecution. So obviously it's a very happy day for Jerry, but it's a day that never should have been. It's a day he never should have been subjected to these allegations to begin with.
I'm grateful for the support of the folks, my family, friends, and Liberal Party family that has stood with me. Of course, my lawyers who have been a rock through all of this and kept me believing and going forward, and that we could get through this. And I'm just grateful that this day has come, and that I always knew the law would make the decision, and the right decision, and I believe we're there.
There were hugs and elation after the ruling, and Pat Sorbera was even seen wiping away tears. Obviously, the Win Liberals see this as a victory, but they also feel that this trial should have never taken place to begin with.